The cloud. That's very important. Hey, welcome back. You are joined today by myself, Shawn Gervais from OrbisX, and Marty Hill from the Pints and Polishing podcast. Going to have a great episode Marty is doing tonight as well. I'm sure when that's done, he can shoot me the link. I'll get that posted. And also from hyperClean Products. Marty, where can they find you?
At hyperClean Store on social or hypercleanstore.com.
Yeah, right on, right on. And so this is our post-Easter weekend episode. We're going to talk about a few things today, but first let's jump into that. So how was your Easter weekend?
Easter weekend was pretty fun. All right, so I'm drinking today. I had a little mixture of some Bacardi and Sprite, and then my business partner, he loves these high nooners. And
nice.
So I grabbed some the other day, and so that's what I'm going to drink today. It's, if you haven't had them, they're delicious. It's vodka and soda, you know. And
okay, nice. Different flavors, of course. And
different flavors.
Nice.
Different flavors.
And
the difference between these and like Truly is Truly uses more of like malt, and this is going to be pure, you know, vodka and soda. So
beautiful. Nice, man.
Yeah. Really delicious. Okay, so Easter. Easter was
you
super
said you have
fun,
a funny
man.
story.
Yeah, well, so you know, it kind of started off with me starting to question on Good Friday. You know, my wife walks in the morning and goes, you know, hey, today I'm not eating red meat, and so you know, we need to talk about dinner tonight. And I just, what? Like you know, like out of the blue for me. And but you know, it's not a big deal, right? Like, okay, I don't have, like, sure, whatever. Yeah. Well, so it kind of sparked in my mind then on Sunday morning to go, tell me about Easter for you, right? Because I imagine Brazilian Easters, they just have to be different than American Easters, right? Like, so for me, Easter was super interesting because it was a mixture of two cultures trying to celebrate, but you know, like the way she's normally celebrated, it's different than the way we celebrate. Their eggs are like these giant things of chocolate that you break open, and then there's more chocolates and truffles, and like, and these things are massive, right? Like they're you know,
it's like a pinata.
What's the Easter bunny to you? This is the conversations we started getting to. So I'm sitting, we basically, it's my mom. We go over to my mom's house. My sister and her family are visiting the other side of her family, right? Her husband's family. So it's me, my wife, and my stepson, and my mom. And now my mom is your 75-year-old Midwest Baptist Christian, right? Like, but the sweetest, you know, little old lady, like, she had us coloring eggs. You know, she still loves to color eggs.
Nice.
We've never done that. We put the dye in the cups, and you hold the hard boiled eggs down in, and you dye the eggs, right? Like old school.
Yeah.
And then
I haven't done that since I was a kid, but that's awesome.
She also still goes and hides eggs. So
no way.
The little, the ones with the little plastic, and she puts coins in them, and you know, maybe some Hershey Kisses or something. And she had like 50 of these out for my stepson to go and search for, right? Like,
that's amazing.
To have an Easter egg. Yeah, it's super cool, right? Like great grandmother type of, like, just a great person. So I start going, hey, you know, wifey, why don't you tell my mom how you celebrate Easter? You know, who's the Easter bunny to you, right? Like, because it's just super interesting the way things get translated throughout the world and what happens over time. And I start going, you know what? I mean, I get it. We've always celebrated like Christ's resurrection, but what really is Easter? And so then you go down that rabbit trail, man. And that's interesting.
Unattended.
Apparently, there's this goddess of what was celebrated in the Germans way long time ago that they brought over to the Americas, was a tradition from, you know, way back in the Bible type times, of this goddess of Easter, which was Esta something, I don't know. This I can't remember. Aster, that's what it was, Aster. And they celebrated on this Aster pole, which was usually around springtime, and this was the goddess of fertility. So if you ever remember springtime way back, like even in the 50s and 60s, sometimes there was these kids that would run around a pole and they would hold this. Do you remember? Was that a thing in Canada?
No, it wasn't a thing here. No,
but I remember seeing photos of it from back in the day, and that's how we celebrated spring. Well, that's this pole that represents a penis, and that's is the fertility so of the kids are dancing around it, dude. You can start going down the most random. If you start then it's like, what the hell's the Easter bunny? Well, there was this thing that would bring fertility gifts to kids. It was like, why does a kid need a fertility? Like, it was just this. I was sitting there and I look over and my mom had decided for the first time that she wanted to eat lamb on Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, on Easter. And I'm like, Mom, Lamb of God, and we're eating lamb. Like, I don't understand it. I've got this bunny that's supposed to deliver fertility. Like, Jesus, what the fuck is this holiday all about? I had one of those moments, like,
holy shit,
sitting at Easter going, what in the world? Like, why have we been celebrating Easter with these Easter bunnies and giving little kids gifts of fertility? Like, what?
That's madness, man. Oh my God.
Good thing we're off the clock, right? Good thing we're off the clock.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah. But man, there's a lot wrong with that whole scenario. Just
start Googling it, and the most random shit you start reading while you're sitting at the table going, what?
What the hell? Yeah, I gotta check this out. Oh man, that's crazy. Yeah, us too. We eat a lot of fish, so no red meat, stuff like that. So and they usually have this thing. Well, when we were in the Caribbean, it was Fish Friday, basically. So every Friday they'd have this huge like fish cookout, and then of course Easter weekend it was like massive, and that's when all the bikes would come out. So there'd just be like bikes everywhere, like motorcycles, and always it was like a running joke. It's like, who's gonna end up in the river, and like someone's going in literally in the ocean, like off a cliff. Like someone there's just because the bikes are like weaving in and out of traffic and everything. People are drinking, driving, and all kind of, it's just madness, but there wasn't so much the religious side of it, and so it was just a big party. It was an excuse to party. And then here, same thing. There's not really, like, my wife's family is very religious, so they're Seventh-day Adventists. They overlap a lot with like the Jewish religion, and so it's kind of just another day for them in one sense. But usually, like Saturdays and Fridays are big days every week. Like Saturdays, no TV, can't touch money. Like there's a bunch of, So obviously, my wife doesn't work at the shop then because we're open Saturdays. but yeah, so I'll think, but man, that's wild. I got to Google that after this episode. I just kind of want to go down that journey and see what you went through. Man, that's wild.
What about you?
What bunny?
What was your what?
And why a bunny? Like, why would the rabbit? Like, why is a bunny factor in at all? Like, that's a
I
don't know. So I had a pretty interesting experience with an animal this weekend.
A bunny? Did you see two bunnies getting after it?
No, actually, we did see a bunny in the yard. But
so those jackrabbits, those are the funny bunnies. You ever see them? Yeah. Those guys are fucking hilarious. Like,
yeah, exactly. They're like little kangaroos.
Yeah. Fucking hilarious.
Yeah, here, I don't know what they look like there, but here most of them have red eyes. Like, there's a lot of them that are albino, so there's the fur, everything's just white on them. And then there's some that they're kind of more brownish, but they change color depending on the season. So their fur will grow in differently. And then, but yeah, most of them have red eyes. They look pretty squirrely. Yeah. And they always look malnourished and like they've been in like bar fights. I don't know. Just like, I'm telling you, man. But yeah, I had a crazy experience this weekend with an animal. It was funny, sad, tragic. It was every emotion you could think of. But we got this new gazebo. I was putting it up this weekend. So we had a crazy storm here, and our old gazebo was metal, but it was one of those just like cheap ones, put together. Anyway, the frame started bending and it was taking off like a sailboat. So I said, let me just go out and get a proper one. So I went and got this thing with these huge cedar posts, massive. It's not moving for anything. Has a skylight. It's really nice. Put it together, and then I was like, well, I'm outside. I might as well take
you put it together, like
yeah,
with the drill and like.
Of course, yeah, of course, yeah, yeah. I'm handy actually. I do a lot of work on computers, but like at our other spot, we built a tiny home, and so like my wife and I, like we built that ourselves and stuff. Yeah, I'm pretty handy with tools. But so I had a buddy over, and we were just drinking some rum. He was over for the weekend, and we put it together. It was yeah, it was a fun time. Music's playing, everything was good. Take some downtime from the computer. But while I was out there, my neighbor had reminded us that she saw over the fence. She saw that we had a bunch of sticks and stuff in our barbecue, and so we knew it was from the squirrel that kind of just went in there and made a home, because the what do you call it? The cover for my barbecue.
Random squirrel.
Random squirrel. Well, sort of random. It's kind of like a friend of my wife's. She would show up every day.
Your wife made friends with a squirrel?
Yeah,
and it built a nest in your barbecue.
Yes, exactly. My wife would be outside doing, gardening, stuff like that. And the squirrel would just come and sit down on the patio set and just stare at her while she was doing that. That's the kind of weird part. And then she started bringing my wife peanuts and like dropping off like the shells and stuff on her chair. So our neighbor was feeding the squirrel peanuts. Excuse me, the squirrel would bring them over as like a gift for my wife. I don't know why, but I think the squirrel maybe thought my wife was giving gifts to the squirrel, because my wife would plant bulbs, right? And then the squirrel would go and dig them up. So I think they had this kind of like weird relationship going. Anyway, the squirrel
was super smart, because she would get the nuts from the neighbor that was giving it to her. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Hey, I can trade these nuts for these cool bulbs that this woman's putting down.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty smart squirrel, absolutely. And then went in our barbecue, made a home in there. So finally I saw her, she had left, and I saw she went to get some food, and I was like, wow, we're finished, the gazebo, we're outside. Let me just go clear that out. So my daughter was outside with us at the time. So I went to start clearing it out. My daughter didn't want me to touch, any of the stuff. So I took this chair and I'm like, moving the stuff out. Anyway, I flip over her little nest thing out of the barbecue, and all of a sudden these two babies pop out. I was like, oh shit, man, you got to be kidding me. And like,
big?
No, man, bigger than that, bigger, size of your can. Like one was gray and the other one was black, but the black one was larger because she was black. And so the larger one is pretty much like a full formed thing. So it started like trying to crawl towards me and stuff, but they were screaming this kind of, it sounded like a whistle almost. So the mom came back with a vengeance. She starts lunging towards me, and she's got her hands in the air, and she's like making these weird sounds. My daughter's just freaking out. So we backed up, and I'm talking to the squirrel. I'm like, yo, chill, just relax, And she starts charging towards me. So I'm like, yo, relax, man. So me and my daughter like ran 20 feet backwards and just gave her some space. And then she finally like stood her ground, and she turned back around, grabbed one of the babies by the neck, took off, jumped across the fence, and then disappeared somewhere, but left the other one still there. The other one's screaming his head off. I'm feeling terrible. I'm like,
oh, the whole time? It never shuts up.
Never shuts up. No, just kept going. Loud, piercing. Like, oh man, it was brutal. My neighbor from across the street heard it. So he's coming over. He's like, what's going on? And it was a mess, man. So she finally came back, got the other one, and then she took off. Hasn't been back, and I left the barbecue open. I'm just going to leave it like that for a little bit so she doesn't,
She's never coming back.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But unless she comes back to like attack me, I think, because she knows who I am. I don't know, man.
What's your wife say? Is she gonna miss her little treats?
Yeah, my wife was a little sad. She was, and because what happened too, this particular squirrel, we have a long history with this squirrel. She used to live in our front tree. We had this huge maple, like 50, 60 years old, something like that. And when the tornado hit our house, it took that tree and ripped it right out of the ground. And so that was, anyway. Well, sorry, didn't rip it fully out of the ground. It left part of it. The city was coming back to cut it down because half of it was missing. But the sad part was that she had a nest up there. And so she ended up losing the babies from that year. And then she just seemed really sad afterwards, And then so we were that's why I was feeding her peanuts in the winter. And then my neighbor took that over because I just couldn't keep up with her appetite. But yeah, I don't know, man. It was sad, man. This weekend
tornado took her babies, and then the big giant.
And then Shawn finishes the job.
Big white giant took the other ones.
Big white giant. Oh man, I feel horrible, man. Like I almost want to like build her a little house, and then she can that's her house. She can come in. She's not coming back though. Yeah, she was mad at me, man. You should have seen the way she was charging. I'd never seen anything like that. And yeah, she was. It's that mother's rage, It took over. Yeah.
Where did you have a moment where you wondered if you needed to put this one down? Like it was getting a little close to you, where it's like, oh hell no! Like
when she first came over and I started telling her chill, I thought for sure I was gonna have to well, I can say it's off the clock, stomp her out.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Put her down,
Yeah,
hey,
but
just A little bit too
tough
close.
Situation. My daughter was there though, so like and her birthday was the day before, so I'm like, like her birthday weekend. Like, do I? Oh, what'd you do on your birthday weekend? Oh, my daddy killed a squirrel in front of me. Yeah, it was. Yeah, she was traumatized, but she wasn't actually too bad because she knows a lot about nature and how she watches all these National Geographic programs and stuff. She knows nature's pretty cruel on its own. Like they do some pretty cruel things, But so she knew sometimes nature, this is what happens, right? But she was just freaked out because fuck man, I'm telling you, that squirrel, when she stood up on her hind legs and started doing that thing with her hand, she looked like 10 feet tall, man. I'm telling you. It's not that I was scared. I'm 220 pounds. Like, but at the same time, it was like, I don't know, man.
Scared of a bite. I mean, it's got to be a little awareness like that fucker eats takes a hunk at him and like, I could go to the doctor. Like, fuck, this ain't fun.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, you never know, man. Yeah, you get shots and all kinds of shit. Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, so anyway, the babies are safe. Well, they left here safe. I don't know.
Who knows?
Where they are
she
now.
might have dropped one of them off to go pick up the other one, and a snake ate the other one, and she comes back. Like, you ruined her whole life, Shawn.
Yeah, exactly. I know. Just ruined it all.
All because you needed barbecue, man. What's wrong with you?
Well, in all fairness, you should have found a better home. You know what I mean? Like, that one's dangerous. It's got fire and stuff. But yeah, so now I need a new barbecue because my wife said that we could just like clean it, turn it on, burn it, and everything. I just can't do it, man. I'm getting a new one. That's it. I'm done. Yeah, I can't eat on that. I don't know. It just would you keep it?
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Light that thing up and get to cooking.
And good to go, huh? Jesus. Yeah. Oh man. So hey, did you see any good posts recently or?
Oh yeah. All right. So interesting post that I've seen, and this is what you said earlier about being on episode. So we saw this post and I commented back, Joe, and I'm excited about coming on to this episode because the post was about people are starting to reach burnout. And I've heard right after Corona and after the way 2020 went into 2021, one of the next big waves in overall business, not detailing, not anything specific about cars, just overall economics, was the mental struggles that people are going to have coming back to work of all the different things that are going to start, 2020 was just so random. It was so incredibly random that we all know that what happens mentally through all the struggles coming back, detailers really got to skip on a lot of it because we weren't in travel, right? We weren't in a lot of the industries that had their struggle already. So, we got to actually ride a wave. And what many thought
it was actually better for a lot of people. Yeah.
There you go. What many had told people just close your door. Not many. There was one that's told people to close their doors. Many had concerns about, health wise, and which rightfully so. But what actually happened was a massive surge, right? And people needed to clean cars. We were saying, hey, go clean cars. Go to the front lines. If people 100%. Are telling you that what was that word?
Non-essential or
non-essential, make yourself essential. Become essential. Go 100%. Clean cars. The best thing you could go do, right? So there was actually this wave that started to happen and everything increased. Well, now, as we all know, as we keep saying, whether it's, pricing of gas, whether it's shipping cost, whether it's, you can't find the same stuff you used to at the grocery store, shortages, whatever it is that's creating the economic situation now of everything's really high priced. It's hard to find things. Business, quote unquote, is getting difficult. Now people are
getting burned out.
And you go, we're 4 months into 2022. Everybody should have had these record years. How are you burnt out already? And I just love to throw it to you, curious. Like I'm going to be on the episode, thankful to get a chance to hear what everybody's saying. And I'm really curious from you. What have you ever gone through burnout? I mean, what is burnout to you?
Yeah, so to me, I haven't gone through burnout myself. I don't know if it's just I have like a crazy amount of energy or what it is, well, to be honest, I think a lot of it's I stick with things I'm passionate about. There's been things I've become less passionate about, and I just end up outsourcing it to people. But I've never burned out. Like one one thing I always loved that Grant Cardone always said is he's like, I don't burn out. I'm not a candle. It's like I just don't. And I just don't either. And I think it's the difference between myself and other people is that, like myself, I'm an entrepreneur to my core. I've been self employed since I was 16, and it's always just been one hustle after the next. And it just comes naturally to me because I want it. I don't need, to be motivated. I don't need discipline, nothing. It's got something to do, boom, go get it. And I always want more. I think, to be honest, when it comes to burnout, I think a lot of people, they kind of have this dream or vision of what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of that's, been exasperated even more with Instagram and TikTok and stuff where people see these certain lifestyles. They see snippets of people's lifestyles and they think that, oh, the 4-hour work week.
Your boy Grant Cardone that you just said, right? He's
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like the passive income, like this and that, and oh yeah, this is my second helicopter, but they don't understand the countless hours, the sacrifice you have to make, and I can tell by the posts that I see. I see a lot of posts where people ask what to charge. They ask, how long would this take you, stuff like that, and so it's almost like they're looking for shortcuts all the time. And I think that's why those people burn out is because they're not really willing to put in the actual work that it takes. Like there's
So
countless hours.
Do you think there would be a definition then between somebody that, let's just say, got into business, right? Like owns a business. If we keep saying that detailing is one of the easiest industries to get into, you could go down to any store and buy some product, get some brushes, get some mitts, and you're in business.
Yeah, the barrier to entry is like nothing.
It's so easy. So
yeah,
do you think that because it's so easy, there's plenty of people that got into it for the wrong reason, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why it's the wrong reason is because you got into it just because it was easy, and maybe you liked cleaning cars and you enjoy the process of it, but you didn't really get in it to solve a problem. And so it's not really a full, people love that word scale. I like the word sustainability. It's not a sustainable company because you just enjoy cleaning cars versus somebody that
100%
got into it because they enjoy the business side of it. They actually enjoy the work. They enjoy everything it takes to build the brand. They enjoy all the 20-hour days. Has not really much to do with the detailing side versus more of the business side. I don't know. I'm really curious what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah. So no, good questions. And I think that my thought is that there are two different definitions, 100%. And I think that this whole like I own a business and I'm a business owner term has been thrown around too loosely. I think that there's three different types, to be honest. I think that there's one that's investors, and I think that a lot of people don't realize that their makeup is actually more that of an investor, where you should find someone that wants to run the business, do the work, put in the long hours, and not get burnt out, and then you take a smaller percentage because your compensation reflects your involvement in the business, but you're still making something and you're involved in the business, but you're not actually slugging it out every day, because there's a lot of people that they start off when they're their business is at a certain level, they're taking on a certain number of clients, and basically what they've done is made themselves a job. But then when the going gets tough, or it's like, oh yeah, I did this for the first 4 months, but you got to think long haul. Can you sustain this and do this yourself for 7 years? Can you put in extra hours without worrying about how much am I getting paid on this particular hour versus looking long term, how much is my business making per year? Those kind of people, I think, are more suited to being an investor, and it's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. And then
service-based businesses, you don't really find not in these small type of rarity.
I don't know.
At least here in the States, we don't find very many quote unquote investors.
So you might not find investors, but you can start a business and then transition yourself into an investigation. So you basically like it's almost like what I've done.
So
with
are you saying
Auto
you would grow up a business as a mobile detailer and then bring in somebody and hand them over some ownership?
Yeah,
Or
100%.
running your business.
Yes, exactly, 100%. And then and there's different times that may be something that you would consider. Like for example, if you start a mobile detailing business and you're in your 20s, well, have at it, man. Slug it away. You should have more energy than like a newborn pup. But then when you hit your 40s, 50s, are you still going to be, going with that same energy level after you've done this now 20 years? Probably not. So that might be time where you don't necessarily want to sell the business, or your kids might not want to take it over because that's rare. But you could put yourself into an investor position instead, where you find someone that's going to run it. You've got the experience and knowledge to use your brain to help, the organism flourish, but you're not the one that's actually putting in the grunt work. And because there is a difference between just hiring employees, because you're still going to have to be very hands-on. Like if your employee doesn't show up, or, this and that. But if you hire someone instead to be, part equity owner,
quote unquote, bring in a partner.
Yeah, exactly. And the one difference is that normally most people do like a 50-50 partnership or something like that, but then you're still expected to do 100% of your
it
work.
Might be an 80-20.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where, sometimes that's a better option, so it all depends on what you want. But I'd say there's three types in my opinion. So there's that one where there's certain people that are just more built for the investor side of things, where they want to own a business, they want to be involved, but they don't want to slug it out every day, or they get burnt out. And then there's, people that I consider self-employed. They don't have a business. They're just self-employed. So you have the exact same tasks in a day as you would if you were working for someone else's shop, and you're getting paid, but you're just a one-man band, weekend warrior, or you're doing it full time. But it's just basically a job. Like if you slap someone else's name on the letterhead, you're working for someone else. It's basically you just made yourself a job, and that's okay too. But a business, in my opinion, is different, and that's where like the goal of every business is growth. It's always growth. That's it. It's growth. It's employees. It's streamlining. It's that, to me, is more a business. It's that transition from self-employment to a business. And I find that most people consider themselves business owners, but they're just self-employed. That's the demographic, in my opinion, that gets burnt out. It's because the business owners, because they're focused on growth. It's a growth-based model. They don't get burnt out because they subcontract out things, either by subcontracting or by employees. So I can't get burnt out because the number of hours I have in a day are unlimited, because I can just hire more people. So if you're self-employed, you're limited to your hours. And if you have other commitments, like a lot of these guys, they start a business before they have kids, for example, right? Marty, you and I both have kids. We understand when your kids are little toddlers and they're basically just little blobs sitting in a car seat, it's going to be a lot easier for you to manage your business, your self-employed job, basically, and your, home life. As your kids grow and their needs change, things are going to be a lot different for you. And as you get older and your body changes, and, things become a lot different. Even your priorities change. Before, if I have a girlfriend, but, we see each other once a week or something like that. But then now we've moved in together and she wants to, go for dinner 3 times a week. It's your needs are going to change a lot. And so your business needs to change as well, or else you will get burnt out, because you can only do so much stuff. But I think that's where utilizing, tools like OrbisX, for example, that'll help, because you can automate a lot of your business stuff if you want to remain self-employed. And then using the right products as well. That's going to help, like instead of doing 15 coats for protective coating, you could find some products like Marty has available and just do a single application, things like that. So there's ways that you can reduce your potential for being burnt out. But I think that also requires a lot of creative thinking that comes from the third demographic that I was talking about, which is, entrepreneurs.
Why don't you think people move from number 2 to number 3?
I think it's difficult for people to move from 2 to 3 because most people are scared of that step. And it also does require a greater sacrifice than most people are willing to make. So I think that, like, when you're self-employed, you start a business.
It's the sacrifice, isn't it?
It is. Like, we've talked about it. You can go get a bucket and you can do this and that and start in a hatchback, and you're a mobile detailer. You're in business. You've got some business cards. You're good to go. jumping from not having that basic setup to having that basic setup is like taking one step forward. Jumping to having, employees, or, even a lot of these guys don't even have insurance. So like all of these things that you now will need, because it's like, okay, I want to get employees. Well, I need insurance because if the guy falls, I'm not going to pay $1 million for this lawsuit, right? So I need insurance. And then, oh, I now need a shop, or I need a location, or I need all these. There's just so many things that I think terrify people with these expenses. But it's one thing I always tell my kids, like, my eldest, she just turned 13, and I tell her all the time, I'm like, listen, the greatest thing about life is that you can always go back. It doesn't mean quitting. You can always go back. So you got to try anything that you want to try out there in the world. You got to, maybe aside from heroin, but, you got to just try stuff. You got to, I want to set up a business. Go for it. What's the worst thing that happens? You're like, hey, I didn't like that business, or it didn't work out, or the market crushed me, or whatever. So then you just go back to where you started, and then you start something else. There is no fear for me when it comes to starting things. I started OrbisX when there's already a plethora of softwares, not just in the detailing industry, but also just in general. Like QuickBooks, they existed. So I could have let fear be like, oh, geez, maybe I shouldn't start OrbisX. And so many people would have been so unhappy running mediocre businesses with, mediocre software right now. But I took the leap because I said, this is what it's going to be. But it required me locking myself in a room, not getting paid for many, many hours, writing 10 million lines of code in order to make that happen. And that required a conversation with my family and telling my kids and my wife, like, hey, listen, the next 4 months, daddy's going to be a little bit busy. And it's just, but that sacrifice, thousands of pounds of, coffee grains, and here we are. But the results are definitely worth it. But I do think it's fear. And I think that it's that next step. There's so many different variables and things that have to be set up that people either just don't know, or they're too scared to do the research to figure out. It's mostly fear-based, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm interested. And I think the question I'm interested to get some feedback on too is, and I think anybody could chime in on this, and this would be an interesting thing to toss back and forth, is, do you think also the rise in the amount of certifications and trainings that we saw, well, they gave people a false sense of hope that the more you dialed in your quote unquote detailing experience, mean that you could charge more. You could charge more because you now have these qualifications. In a tough economy, there's a false sense of hope.
100%.
Certifications and higher prices. Certifications don't mean dick. Like,
it's true.
Pricing that's too high is pricing that's too high. It doesn't matter. Like, you've got to always be fluctuating, and unless you're going to provide an insane amount of value to your customer,
that's the piece right there.
Then they will validate the high price.
Yeah, and I think
but our certifications and our trainings haven't given a detailer a reason more of value to the end consumer. So I really would love to know the stat of how many people that are burnt out also have all these credentials and all these certifications, and they've been through and they've done all this stuff, checking boxes. And it was
with no guarantee
they were led in the wrong way.
To me, it's the equivalent of the university system. A lot of people before, it was you have to get a degree. You have to get a degree. Now, almost every Fortune 500 company doesn't require one. In fact, a lot of them don't want one. And I've always tried to hire B and C students. The A student, I could care less about their grades, but it told me that they weren't well-rounded. I always wanted well-rounded people, like know what you're doing and do what you know. And if they had the experience or skills and they could demonstrate that, that was worth more to me than if they had a piece of paper that said they passed a course that knew how to do it. Like maybe it was fresh in your mind when you did it.
And I've never asked somebody what grades they made in school. I've never, ever.
Never. It's irrelevant, really. It really is, like I think one advantage with university education or even having a, high school diploma, all these things is, to some employers, it's knowing that you accomplished something, that you saw something to completion. But if you can show that you saw something to completion outside of that, that's going to be just as valuable, I think. And that's where the big question you have to ask yourself is, does the customer even know the significance of your certification? Do they even know? Like if I have, an electrician come to my house, for example, we have this thing here called the ESA. I know I'm looking for an ESA certified electrical person. That's only because the city requires it. So the city has told me the importance. I need someone that's certified like that, or else if my house burns down because of faulty electrical, my insurance won't cover it. But outside of that, if I hire a plumber, for example, and he tells me is that, oh, well, I got this certification from something, association. Can you fix the toilet? Like, that's all, you know what I mean? Have you done it before? Okay, so fix it, please. That's it. It's really not something, and I don't think, I would argue strongly that a lot of consumers are completely left in the dark and unaware about which certification is what it means, what it takes to get that, anything like that. They may be familiar with some brands for products. That may be true, but at the same time, I think that it's up to you to sell the value in whatever brand you're using or whatever service you're doing. It's your job to sell that. If you're relying on a third party's, certification or warranty or guarantee or backup, I honestly think that is not going to be enough for a sustainable business. Not at all. And I don't think that kind of stuff will be worth its weight in gold, to be honest. I think that if you can do the service or the job, whatever it happens to be, and you can articulate that in a way that the customer understands, that's going to land you the job. And I think you have to pay attention to the market and realize what's going on out there and what people can afford. I know next week we're going to touch on this, but I do have to mention it in this case. Someone that sent in those questions, they're curious about, transitioning from they were working at a shop, the shop's closing down. So they're looking, should I start a shop or go work for someone else? And when he sent in the questionnaire to me, he had mentioned he's looking for like a high-end shop. And my first question was, well, what about the low-end shops? Like, what about the high volume, low ticket price? He was like, well, no, I don't like the way they treat their employees. I really want a high-end one. I was like, well, you might find out you work at a high-end place, and your last place, the boss was great. The new place, the boss is an asshole. You know what I mean? It's the ticket price isn't going to determine the workplace culture. It's just not. Like, we have a fantastic workplace culture at AutoWorld, and we have low ticket prices in comparison to some of the other shops, but we're 10 times as busy. We keep our guys busy. They get paid 50% commission, whereas the other guys, they don't pay any commission. They're like, no, we're selling the high end stuff, and you install it, and they don't treat them very well. So you can't use that as a gauge. And my big thing was, what's sustainable in the long run? And my first advice was, if you haven't run a shop, working at a shop and being like, oh, I could transition into a shop, at my own shop. It's a completely different ball game. You have no idea the kind of, risk that business owner was taking, the kind of sacrifices they had to make. So sometimes it's better to work at another shop and then pursue that on the side if you can, or something like that. Like, it's until you get a feel for it. But if you're in between jobs, you might find that the market's going to kick your ass around. But I do think that's where the burnout comes from. The fact that this industry in particular has such a low barrier to entry, people just jump in, start doing it, and then they're like, what next? How do I get more? So then they start looking at these things like these certifications and stuff. And I think where the burnout is coming from actually is a lot more frustration from, I have these certifications, I'm doing everything right, but I'm still not getting the jobs. And I think it's a lot of stress that they're frustrated from. And then they're taking on these jobs because they're not sitting down to take the proper time to actually structure a business. They're taking on all these random jobs that probably are, more work than what they're charging for, or it's just not the right kind of clientele. I think that's where a lot of the disconnect comes from that I've seen through people's, complaints or frustrations in their posts. So as well as some conversations with some guys that were running some shops that just, I helped them restructure things, and they've completely transformed it around. But when they first came, I was looking at it and I'm like, how the hell did your business even get to this point? It's so fragmented how you're doing things. And that's why they were feeling burnt out. They had no processes in place. They were just all over the place running, 1 month they'd be up, next month they're down. They weren't factoring in the economy at all. And they were like, oh yeah, well, I have these certifications. I'm going to charge, $4,000 for a coding. When the market's telling you could get 10 people at, $1,000 a coding. You're going to make more money. You're going to have more interactions with customers to get more referrals, more reviews. It's a snowball effect that I think a lot of people are scared of because they've been indoctrinated. They've been told, like, this is the way the market is, but it's being told to them by people that aren't actually in the market. You know what I mean? Like they're coming at it with their objectives. I've got a product to sell and I want you to be certified so that you continue to buy from us. But that's where kind of their support stops because they're not familiar with actually, running a detailing shop, for example.
Cool.
Yeah. That was my long-winded answer.
Yeah, no, all good. All good. So we had a question today though, right? Upsells.
Yes, we did. Upsells. Yeah. And this one, I love upsells. So This is one. Yeah, I absolutely love upsells. And I know we both agree on the upsells. We have different ways of approaching and stuff. But the biggest thing for me is a lot of people feel sales is a bad thing. That's where, and me, I think sales is the greatest thing in the world. First off, you're dealing with a customer. Every interaction with them is sales. And so the question was initially how to implement.
All right. Can I dissect that for a second?
Yeah, go ahead, for sure.
And then let's get to I don't know the question yet, but it's something to do with upsells. But I guess what is the question first? And let me dive into what
sure.
you're saying.
So the question was, this person's doing upsells right now, but they're only doing one upsell, like, I guess, part of their process. So they talk to the customer, book them in. When they do the intake, that's when they try and upsell them. They upsell them an attempt once, and then that's it. They either buy or they don't. And so the question was, how can they better integrate upsells into their sales process so that they can get more upsells and better upsells?
Okay. And then you started off by saying that people don't like to do sales. And that's where I wanted to say, hold on, because if you don't like doing sales, then you don't believe in what you're selling.
100%. Because it shouldn't be selling. It's offering a solution to a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And it goes back to a little bit of, you probably don't know what you're doing in business. You're not listening to the right people. You got into it for the wrong reasons. Like
100%.
You don't believe in selling somebody, then you really don't believe in, absolutely right, that you have a solution for their problem.
Mm-hmm. 100%.
That's what sales is, and that's what it should be. There is a negative persona on sales, which I had previously. I understand that. But when you're sitting in front of a service manager who's got guys back cleaning cars, and you know that what they're doing isn't right, and you can help them save them some money, and because you've seen, you've heard, and you can look that service manager in the eye and go, I can help increase your sales by 15 to 20%. I can save you 15 to 20%. I can change the way you guys clean cars.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
it's not sales at that point.
It's not sales.
You're helping them out.
Yeah. I mean, and that's really where it took me to the ground floor, was being a detailer, then going into distribution, learning how to sit in front of a service manager, because I had done all my homework where I looked at the guys in the back cleaning cars. I knew what was being said about the dealership, right? And so if you've got a problem that you hear about, you go try and solve it. And if you so believe what you do in your processes, the products that you use, then the purpose of selling is easy.
100%.
And if you've got a lot of purpose in it, then you win. Because
absolutely, yeah.
And the customer's going to say something that they don't understand why. For instance, let's just say with hyperClean, with the products, this is what we teach our distributors when they're in front of people. It's, listen, we know we're saving. I got messages today of, what are people average? What's the average cost? I sent this out to a bunch of them. What's the average cost that people are paying for 5 gallons of degreaser?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting numbers of $89, $100+. one was $79. We're like,
jeez.
Great. You use the hyperClean ultra concentrate line, you're going to get 5 gallons of degreaser for $45.
Just cut their costs in half in most cases.
That's super easy, right?
More.
Like,
yeah,
right? This is what makes it easy. If the dealership wants to save money, it's going to help them. And because you've used the products, they're going to clean wheels, clean engines, clean fenders.
Yeah.
Great.
Exactly.
I can compare $45 to $79 to $69 to $89 and win all day long. And it's the best for the dealership. It's the best for the service manager who's wanting to save money. It's easy. That's a great time to upsell. I mean, that's the point of having a sell, right? Like, you have to believe in what you're doing in order to start selling. Now,
100%.
Once you've made a sale, AKA the prospect is interested, then I think that's the answer to the question, right? When do I do an upsell? Well, you've got to first get the customer hooked, right? You might not have the customer fully on the line. You think you're reeling it, right? Fishing, think you're reeling it in, and the fish really never got hooked all the way and it hops off. Like, it's the worst ever.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's common for a lot of people.
Make sure you got that line hooked. Right?
Yeah.
You got to start going through collecting information or whatever it is, getting towards the actual credit cards, getting in there. For instance, let me run with this story, right? I took my daughter out this past, before she left. My youngest was in town for spring break and flew her back to California. Mm-hmm. And before she left, it was like, let's go spend a day. What you want to get your nails done? What do you want for your birthday? What do you want to do? Like, she's like, I've never had, she hadn't gotten nails done before. She's going to turn 13. So it's like, great, let's go to this place. I walk in. What do you want? Great. I don't know. She wants her nails done. Okay. Well, what does that mean? Like, listen, they're looking at me and I don't have a clue. Right. So it's, she's trying to tell them. And then the thing that they got to was when this was just part of their sales point, right? Like, what are you here for? Let me lead you on to your options. Here's your choices. What do you want? What do you want? And it's just, here's your options. And they just keep leading her down this path. Great. We get to the point of she's going to get these nails put on. She's got her color. It's a regular color. And then it's, how long do you want it to last? Okay. So there's their upsell. All right. Yeah. What you've done is you've gotten to this point and your price is here and this is what you're getting. Now, if you would like it to last another 30 days, aka detailers, great. I've got a full detail that the customer's walked himself through because I've talked to him about they need stuff on the inside clean and stuff on the outside clean. I know I've got to clay bar the vehicle because in my full detail package, I've got this type of protectant. Great. Here's my time to intermex. I've got the customer on the full detail. I've got the customer ready to get their nails done. They've already picked out the color. They've already picked everything out. Now you can have this, what you got here for $30. However, for extra protection, it's only another $20.
Exactly. And then your nails are going to last twice as long.
Nails are going to last twice as long. Hello. Yeah. Hey, on your full detail package, I'm going to give you the sealant, but for an extra $100, you're already spending $400. For an extra $50, you're already spending $250. For an extra, $150 because you're already spending $400. Whatever price, right? It's not for us to choose the pricing. You can get a full year of protection with hyperClean Uno. So my application cost, I know, is only about $10. What do I need to upsell from a sealant to a coating? Because I believe that a coating is better for my customer than a polymer sealant, than some spray that I bought, right? Like, than just something. I know that the coating is better for my customer. I believe in it. I have to push them to that upsell because I've already taken care of everything. The car's prepped. And then I know that the best thing for that customer is if they have wanted all this done, then they want it protected for longer. So I know 100%. It's the right thing to do. I have to push the upsell of moving from sealants to hyperclean Uno as a 1-year upsell. 100%.
100%. And it's easy to do, I think, at that point as well. And it's better for you as a detailer and the customer, because on your end, you've already done most of the work that would have been required for the prep work anyways. So now you can charge less for the coating. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up, is they think they still need to charge the full price for the coating. And it's like, but you just did 80% of the
all
work.
The prep work.
You know? So so you're practically giving it away at that point. But if you're not doing that, you're leaving money on the table as well.
Yeah, because that's why I said it's only got a $10, really a $10 application cost and product. Mm-hmm. So what do you need to make in that 45 minutes that it's going to take to apply? 30 minutes on a car. What do you need to make? $100? Yeah. Don't worry about what somebody on the internet says that they make. What do you need to make? Would $100 extra in 30 minutes mean something to you? Fuck yeah, it would. So upsell the shit out of it.
Imagine 20 customers a month.
Every single person that gets a full detail, that you know that you're about to make 90 extra bucks like this. Like, fast. 90 bucks. Boom.
You don't have to pay for more Facebook ads, nothing. Like, the customer's already there. You know what I mean? Like, it's your additional cost for that customer is nothing. So just take advantage of it. That's where, for us, we upsell every interaction with the customer. Every single one. Even when we finish it and we ask them for a review, we upsell then as well. And our upsell is just a little different for each stage, depending on what it is. And so if they start out, let's say someone comes to us for a tint, our upsell process is going to be exactly the same, but we're going to substitute in different items or different services each step of the way. Excuse me. And so that's where you got to think of it kind of like, you remember Chutes and Ladders? Remember that game where you
yeah.
Old game, yeah. But
I hated board games, man. I never played board games. I hated them.
Fair enough, yeah. But the principles in it are good, because it's one of those things where, you're walking around the board and sometimes you hit the ladder and you jump up so many spaces. Yeah. Sometimes you hit that slide and you're right back at the beginning. I think a lot of people are scared of the upsell. They understand the benefit. I hit the ladder, I'm jumping up. But they're scared to hit that slide and lose the customer and start back at the beginning, right? But the biggest thing is it's all in the way it's done. You can come across very sleazy and salesy if you're selling something that truly doesn't, benefit the customer, and they can tell like you're just trying to make extra money on the sale. But if you're providing them something and explaining the rationale behind why you're offering that, you're going to nail them every time. And so how we do that is with a plus and a negative. So here's a good strategy that we do. Whenever we suggest an upsell that may be a little, pricey, something like that. If it's something that's $10 to $20 as an add-on, we'll just pitch it, because the customer's likely just going to be able to make a decision. But let's say we're adding on a coating, for example, and it's going to be, an extra $150, $200 on the ticket price. What we do is we throw out a negative and a positive. And so what that means is we say, look, because you already got this, and this done, normally at this stage, I would have just offered you a wax that's only, $45. But I can tell that you like the way you take care of your car. So I'm going to actually offer you a 1-year coating for $150 instead, because I know that the next time you see me, you want it to be 12 months from now, because I can tell you want to ride around in your car. You want it to look good, easy to maintain. You can take care of it yourself. So we'll throw out the negative, the cheaper option. We'll say, I was going to offer you this, but I don't think you don't need this. And then I'll throw.
I love what you're saying there. And I'm going to break it down for a second, because I listened to this guy that he teaches a theory of the ABT.
Okay.
And, but, therefore, and that's exactly what you said.
Oh, shit.
Know it.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Inside of your talk, you always say something, and something.
Yeah. But
something.
Therefore,
something. Like, and he said, you just, that's part of the sale, is you always talk in A, B, T, and, but, therefore. And I picked it up while you were saying it.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't even know I was
doing that. Like, that's crazy. But yeah, we find that works the best, is that offering this versus that. So we have this thing at the shop, Aquapel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's like Rain X.
That's been around. We used to use that at the car wash in 06.
Okay, yeah.
It's been around a long time.
Yeah, we have those. We get them like $6, something like that. And so we do upsell those and they sell.
Yep.
But we also
there was an upsell we did too. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's genius. But we do use that as kind of our negative, but therefore we use that towards our glass coatings, right? And then worst case, if the guy's like, no, I don't want to do the glass coating, it's $100. I'm just, it's a little more than I want to spend. We're like, no problem. You know what? That's why I threw out both options for you. So we'll do the Aquapel for you. It's going to be $45. It'll be done, in 10 minutes and you're on your way. So we'll do things like that. So that way we still get them, hooked on something as an upsell, but more times than not, literally 9 times out of 10, they're going to go for the better option because you come across very genuine as well. It's like, look, I was going to just offer you this, but honestly, the value isn't quite there for you. I can tell you're someone that, you like quality, you like durability. That's why this is the better product for you. It lets the customer know you gave some thought to it. You're not just, oh, my boss told me I gotta, offer you this. You want fries with that every time? But it's, it's giving them the option instead.
So one other thing that happened at that nail salon is because I think part of the question is, when do you offer an upsell? Right?
Yes.
She offered to me right then. I turned it down. We wait for a minute. We get sent over to this other place. Another guy comes and we're sitting there and he's working on her nails. He's got everything seems to be shaved off. Everything looks great. And he's about to apply the polish.
Yeah.
Looks at me and goes, so how long are you wanting these to last?
Yeah. You want the regular or shellac? What do you want? Yeah.
When do you offer it? You offer it at the beginning when you're going over the package to the customer. Here's what comes in your detail, But I think that you're somebody that likes the car, and I would recommend then HyperClean Uno. It's a product we love to add in a 1-year ceramic coating.
100%.
Well, I don't know. It's okay. Clean the car. Get to the point of where you apply the protection. Send a text message. Get back on the phone.
100%. I know it's fun.
I'm clean. I'm working on your car. Everything's coming out really great. I just want to ask you one more time because I know you're somebody that really has taken a lot of pride in this car, and I really believe that you're going to love the results of HyperClean Uno and what it does for the rest of our customers. I really think that you're going to really love this, and I wouldn't have taken the time to call you back if I didn't believe in it. So I just wanted to ask 100%. You one more time.
That's a great line right there, by the way. That's it. Yeah.
When do you offer? When do you do it? Is you ABC always be closing.
The whole
the whole way through. You always be doing it.
Yeah.
There's no one time, and that's the other part of this that I wanted to bring up is I talked to one of our distributors that's making. Listen, not every detailer that gets into distribution starts hitting home runs. It's a climb, right? It's a lot of me working with them, talking to them about if they went into a dealership or other detailers or whatever it is, target market that they're going after. It's working with them on patience and how to talk to people and what to do. And one of the guys earlier was like, well, everybody I talk to is price. Okay. What else you got? What else you got? Like, you can't just have one objection.
Yeah.
And walk away.
No.
That's
and
not
usually
sales, and that's not having a process.
The first and second objection they give you, it's not even usually the real objection. Yeah.
Exactly. So just because at the very beginning you tried to offer HyperClean Uno and they didn't accept it, it has no validity that you should not come back somewhere in the process of all the way till they swipe their credit card that you don't ask for another upsell. You have to. And that's what 100%. I think will really define people in this burnout phase and this tough economic time phase is the people that can get those upsells for an extra $90 in 30 minutes. And that's massive. You do 10 of those a week. What's that, a month? It took you
laughing. Took you almost no time.
Altogether for the month, took you under 10 hours, and it just grossed you an extra $5,000 inside the month. That's exactly $60,000 in a year in a tough economy. Everybody's going to love an extra $60,000 a year.
Well, you know what that means to me as a business owner? That means that I look at the things that I don't have time for or that burn me out, and I take that 60 grand and I hire somebody. So I take that, and guess who that person is? That's the person that's going to sit there on the phone and going to call the customer with updates. I see guys all the time posting, like, oh, I hate when customers call and interrupt me, or I hate when customers are this and that, like I just want to go in, get my work done and do it. Flip it on them. You reach out to the customer then and be like, hey, listen, I just finished washing the exterior. I was about to start the interior, but hey, I took a look at your engine. We could do a quick detail on that before I start the interior. Would this be a good time for that? It's going to be this price, whatever, da da da. And then, they're going to say yes or no, but you just continuously keep them updated with what you're doing on the vehicle. As you were saying, Marty, there's nothing wrong with calling them halfway through or, every couple steps and be like, hey, listen, I just finished your tires. Would you like me to do this for them or something like that? There's always something you can do, but you should have several kind of pinpoints throughout your details. There's the initial interaction, the reminders, the appointment confirmation, then steps throughout the actual detail, and then afterwards as well, post-service follow-ups. All of those times, the transaction is still going on. It doesn't just stop the minute they swipe their credit card. It continues afterwards as well. And that's where they might tell you no 10 times, but maybe it wasn't the right time or you didn't present the right value in that moment. That's where you keep going. You're going to get better at this in time as well. And you're going to start learning when people hit you with certain objections, how you can combat that, what worked, what didn't work, just try out different stuff. But yeah, with the nails, my daughters, they go get their nails done with their mom. And one of the ones that always kills me every time, I know it's coming, so I always make sure to give them a little extra so that they can get it done. They go through the exact same process as you mentioned, and now they've started adding in this thing, and they do it in a way that I love, where they have these little jewels that they can put, and they usually put it on one or two of the nails, but they do it in the way that I love doing upsells, which is the either or. You don't say do you want this? That's a yes or no. Try and avoid yes or no's. What you want is an either or. So you say, oh, and by the way, most customers get these little jewels at the end. I have this little case and I've got, a few of them. Which little sticker do you want on your nails? This one or that one? It doesn't give them the option to say no. It's just, they can still say no, of course, but my kids look at it, they're not presented with an either or. It's like, do you want this one or that one? Like, I want the unicorn one this time. You know what I mean? So it's always that kind of scenario. So you can do the same thing. Do you, listen, I know you only had 3 hours for your detail today. We're currently at hour 2. I am going to be able to finish early. So this visit, do you want us to add a glass treatment or do you want us to add the 1-year coating? I've got the time to make it happen. You're not going to lose any more time. You're going to get 10 times the value out of this package though. Which one is it? This one, that one, kind of lead them down that path. And that's the thing is you're in the driver's seat as well, right? So when you're wondering how.
And I think there's going to be people that listen to this that are going to use that. And then they're going to message you and be like, fucking Shawn, it was crazy. I asked them that question. I really didn't think they would choose it. And suddenly they chose one of them. And I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, exactly.
That's great advice.
Exactly.
Man. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, and it's awesome. Actually, so Aaron, one of the guys in the group, Aaron. So he's been helping out a lot of OrbisX members with getting onboarded and stuff. And one of the guys just posted because Aaron goes through with them and helps them. He charges a fee for it, of course, because it's his time, but he helps them.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I will hopefully want to thought that actually I saw that post the other day where he was helping somebody and I went, all right, my wife's stuff, I've got to get her organized.
Yeah, get her rocking.
Cleaning. Remember, I looked at it and I went, yeah, no, I don't have.
I know you in computers. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, oh man, I don't know. So when I saw his post, I already know I'm going to be reaching out to Aaron here as soon as she gets some of this paperwork stuff done and we get some things done. I'll be like, Aaron, here's the $200 you want. That is well worth it, brother. Here's $200, man. And thank you.
Let's get it done. Exactly. Done. Yeah.
That is an unbelievable service for him to go in and do that.
100%.
Everybody should be. He should be one a day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it's funny because now we're at the level where it is several a week now. And at first, some people were like, oh, well, I was with this other software and they did a free, webinar with me, a Zoom call. I was like, yeah, but what did they do on the Zoom call? He's like, well, they just kind of showed me where to click stuff. And then that was it. I was like, yeah, but you could log in and just click stuff too. You don't need to Yeah, I'll do that for free if you want. Just like log in, click here. But this is a different service. And that's what OrbisX is about. He actually goes in, learns about the person's business, their upsells, what kind of stuff they could have available. And he's like, okay, this is how we're going to put it into OrbisX. And the one guy, he did the call with Aaron, and like 8 hours later, the system automatically upsold one of his customers. And so it just happened for him. So like me, I love seeing that kind of stuff because that's what it's about, is that's how you don't get burnt out, is that when you can make more money in the same or less amount of time, you're not going to get burned out because you're not putting out more
because output. You should be right. You should be always moving towards the direction of things you enjoy the most out of your life.
100%.
That to me is the definition of success.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
Like, the more you get to enjoy the things that you love the most out of life, you're successful. So the more that you can have other people doing the things you don't enjoy, that generates even more success, right? Like
exactly. It's compounded now because you get to do more of what you enjoy. Like it's like me. Like I love the detailing industry, but I didn't want to be cleaning one car, cleaning two cars and stuff. I didn't feel like I was doing enough for society or for myself. And so that's where hiring the right people freed me up to help out more people and still be involved in detailing.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, you said you never got burnout, Shawn. I did reach a moment of burnout, and I got tired of cleaning rims. So I hired somebody to clean them.
Okay. Yeah. So
I got burnout on cleaning the interiors all the time by myself. So I hired somebody that was good at, he can do the interiors, and I had another guy doing the rims. It makes a huge
difference.
Helping the wash, and yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like,
see, that's
the way you do it.
Yeah. For me, after the first 4 months, my wife and I, we were the ones working it. And then after the first 4 months, we hired someone to do that stuff that I didn't like doing. And the first person I hired, actually, his only job was to clean up after each job. So that's how we started. And I was showing him how to do, like, I was kind of prepping him to become my replacement at the time. And so I was like, what you're going to do right now is just in between jobs. I don't want to, refill and clean the extractor. I don't want to refill my bottles, this and that. Like, you do all that stuff. That's your job. So he did all the stuff I hated doing. And so he did that. And then I was teaching him, this is how you get salt out of carpet and stuff like that. And then once he got to that point, I was like, okay, so now you run with it. I hired someone else to do the stuff that he didn't want to do anymore. And it just kind of went from there. So I think that's why I avoided the burnout with the detailing side. But that being said, like, I have a marketing agency, and I've had it, we're in our 15th year now, and we built like 3,000 plus websites. I tell you, building websites, fun 10 years ago. Now, like even my shop's website or other websites, I'm like, oh God, I don't even want to touch it. But so I've experienced burnout in a way where it was just a lack of passion. Like I lost my passion, my drive for that particular thing. But once again, I just hired someone to do that part. And I think that's where a lot of people need to take that leap. And you can do it a lot of ways. You don't have to hire someone. Hiring people is expensive. It's time consuming. The benefits are there because now you have this asset that's at your disposal. But the other option is things where it's partial control, like subcontracting. You can find someone, kind of partner with them in a way like, oh, maybe they have a mobile detailing business, but they can't get enough clients. Maybe you have a good way to get clients and you've got a shop. You can kind of partner up together, subcontract out. Disadvantage is you're either going to lose some equity or you're going to lose the control side where you can't tell them, I need you here this exact day if he's already, booked up. But there's ways of doing it. And I think getting over that fear, that's if we can circle back to the burnout thing, I guess. that's a good way to do it. But I do think upsells too. Upsells can help you with your burnout. I think because a big thing is a lot of people, if you're making
more money doing less work,
then you're going to be working less, making more. And at the very least, that extra money is what could get you over that hump to hiring somebody, bring them on full time. And then you're going to be amazed at your productivity.
The answer tonight on how to solve burnout is going to be upsells.
Upsells. There we go. Yeah. That's the upsells, 100%. If you've got, like, we're seeing 25 to 30 cars a day, an extra $10, just $10 per car adds up significantly at the end of the month. You know what I mean? That's $10 a car. So now imagine $100 a car. Some of these guys were upgrading to full wraps. They come in, we're talking to them. It's like, oh, you got some rust spots there. Yeah, we don't do body work, but we could just wrap it. What color do you want? You ever thought about changing the color of your car? Next thing you know, the guy's like, yeah, the body on it's good, but yeah, wrap it up. We wrapped the car. We just took a guy from $140 to $200 detail. Now he's spending $1,800 and he's getting his car wrapped. It's a no brainer for us. And obviously that guy's going to do payments, but but still, it's the upsell part that we didn't have to pay more to get the customer. He was already there. It's just a simple conversation. We found some value, offered it, and then away to the races. Yeah. So the answer tonight, upsells. I like it, man. That's good. Yeah. Right on. So this was a good talk, man. Well, I'm gonna go check on the barbecue, make sure that there's no more squirrels in there. Brutal, man.
You don't eat squirrel stew?
Yeah, no, definitely not. But
have you ever eaten squirrel in general?
Yes, to be honest. So there was one time my dad and I were kind of stuck on this island. Yeah, this one time.
You said that one time. I just thought.
Yeah. This one time at band camp. Yeah, exactly. Jesus. Terrible. Good movies though. Good series. Yeah. But yeah, no, yeah. Long story, but yeah, some weird stuff has been eaten. Porcupine and a bunch of stuff. Yeah. The one thing I haven't tried that I want to though is iguana. I want to try iguana. Yeah. I don't know. And there's this place, I can't remember where it is. Somewhere it's in South Africa. I just can't remember where, but there's a restaurant there and it's like home of 1,000 meats. They have like
did you try that picanha? You sent me a picture.
No, can't find it right now. Can't find it.
You found it on the website, but they don't
everywhere.
Have it or something?
Yeah. Checked everywhere. I messaged them and they told me message back in May. I guess there's like some farmers or something they work with and they were like message in May. I don't know why. So yeah, I'm working on it, man. I might have to order it and have it shipped up. Yeah, but I think maybe it's not super popular here, like in this city. Toronto, probably I could probably find it there. But that might be a better option. Yeah, have you had it since though?
No, huh?
No, okay. You didn't have it with the Easter Bunny with the.
No, we had lamb. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, lamb. Yeah. Wow. Nice. Yeah, we had red snapper. So
we sacrificed the Lamb of God on the table. Lamb of God.
Nice. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. What was it? The spectacles, testicles, wallet, and watch. That's it. Yeah, that's Mike Myers. Yeah, Austin Powers. Yeah, he was. Anyway, good times. But cool, man. Great chat. So
all metaphorically speaking, of course, no insults. Yes. We're completely we're off the clock, right? Like I don't need some fucking hate emails like, hey, yeah, that's true. You can't say that. Like, listen, we're off the clock. We're making jokes. Is true. It's all good.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a joke. Yeah. So what time's the podcast tonight? What time's it airing?
5
Central, right? Oh, Pacific? Okay. Good stuff. And how do people tune into that one? I have
no idea. I asked the guy the other day, and he said he'd send out an email, but we're T-minus 3 hours. No, 5 hours, and I still haven't seen the email. Yeah. So I'm not sweating. I'll
it'll be there.
He'll send it. Hopefully, or maybe I got uninvited. Perfect. I don't.
Yeah. Not part of the upsells anymore. But well, when you get the link, if you get the link, share it in the group for sure. I know some people want to see the follow-up after this one to that one, So,
yeah.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Thanks again, Marty. Have yourself a great day. We'll talk soon, okay?
You too, brother. Enjoy your week.
All right. Thanks, man. You too.